else, we will go to our presentation on NAICS Business Classification Index by Gregg Cochran.
All right.
Mr. Cochran.
So what do you do with this information? How do you get it out?
Okay.
All right. I use primarily U.S. Postal Service. All right. I don't use every door direct mailing or anything along like that, but I do a letter stuffed in an envelope and addressed to an individual, and I put a postage stamp on it. And the reason I do that is has a longer shelf life than any other piece. I've done this type of marketing to find people, and I've had people call me 2-3 years later after mailing them. So it's what I look at is the response and the return sometimes is not immediate, but it does return. I received a call 3 weeks ago from somebody I mailed 10 years ago. So people hold on to good information or good requests, and if it's sent in the right format. I do not use a number 10 envelope. The number 10 envelope is a standard business envelope. It gets lost in the everything else that someone receives. I use what's called an A10 invitation envelope. And an invitation envelope is more square that allows an 8.5 piece of paper to be folded in half and stuffed on the envelope, so when they open it up, they think it's an invitation. It's one or two sheets of paper coming out. It makes a big difference.
A10?
I think it's A10, yeah. But look up invitation envelope. About 10 years ago, it was about 12 years ago now, I purchased from an envelope manufacturer that did invitation envelopes that were going out of business. I purchased a pallet of envelopes from them.
You have any for sale still?
No, because I've gone through, I'm down to about 30 boxes left out of 2,000. At the same time, when they came out with the forever stamp of the U.S. Post Office, I purchased $5,000 worth of postage stamps, and I've been still going through those. I'm down to 10 rolls left. So there are certain things you can do to minimize your cost over time, but if you've got the money, I'm just telling you the trick that works. The other trick that I use is what after my third mailing in an invitation envelope, I start mailing them in number 10 envelopes with actually a pre-printed label of the individual on there. Why? Because they've already seen 3 pieces from me, so now I'm a familiar piece. And I oftentimes will use not plain white paper. I'll use goldenrod, or I'll use blue, or wherever I can find my 8.5 by 11 paper. Whoever's got a surplus of it and they want to get rid of it, I'll get the paper that is a color or a hue. And again, that's another thing that sticks out in people's minds, because you're doing something different. Every business sends out number 10 envelopes, white letterhead, white. How is that going to stand out from every piece of mail that they're getting? It isn't. It's not impressive enough. So I'm just kind of giving you, a piece of what I do and how I do things.
How about, what the thickness of the standard thickness?
Standard paper, like 94 pound. You don't want. Remember, when you start using thicker and thicker paper, it adds more weight to that envelope and everything else. But I never sent a business card with my first 3 mailings to that company. It's a letter with the contact information. By the time I go to the number 10 envelopes, I have a business card in there.
Are the invitation envelopes the same as business envelope? Price
No,
wise?
no. Have you ever received a wedding invitation in the mail? It's a square envelope.
I meant price wise.
Price wise,
Yeah.
they're a little more expensive invitation envelopes. But make sure you get them one so you can take an 8.5 and do one fold. I hate nothing more than folding paper or having to buy a tri-fold folding machine and then it breaks down after the first 1,500 folds. So I just, I do what I do is easy. Now, the other key I'm gonna tell you is when I mail my mailings out to these companies, or to these individuals, I try to make sure the mailing is going to hit their office or their desk on a Monday through Thursday. You never wanna have it hit on a Friday. You really don't wanna have them hit on a Thursday. But Monday through Wednesday are the optimum days, even if it has to go to a Thursday. The reason being is Monday morning they come in, they're always inundated with mail. I always find the best responses when the mail hits them on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. But they try to mail it, figure it out where you're gonna mail and try to receive by them anywhere between Monday and Thursday. It just seems to work better. And I'm only telling you this because I've done this thousands and thousands and thousands of times. I also,
Greg, is there anything else that you found that works better on Tuesdays and Wednesdays? Cause that's like, I mean, that's an interesting pattern that you saw there.
the only thing that works better that is receiving on a Friday or Saturday is when I do postcards. Postcards seem to work when they hit Fridays and Saturdays. And all my postcards that when I do use them are goldenrod in color. So they stand out from every other piece of junk that's out there, and I make them look different. The idea of a postcard is that when a postcard's received, this is what goes on in my mailbox and most other people. Oh yeah, postcard, postcard, postcard. The stuff gets flipped off. All of a sudden I got a postcard of a different color, and as the hand goes down like this, there's a different color on it.
Wow.
They'd stop and look at it.
Then they throw it.
Then they may throw it. But the key is what you're trying to get is the reader or the person recipient to get it, and before it automatically hits the round file, they stop and they pull it back up and look at it. And they make a decision. Do I want to read or do I not want to read? This might be interesting. Let's set this aside and read it later. I'm just telling you what things that I've done and things that I do. What else? There's something else. Oh. It doesn't matter whether it's a standard postcard size or a large postcard size, but I do find that the smaller postcards seem to stick around longer than the larger size postcards.
I found just the opposite.
And you found the opposite. So it depends on what your message is on the postcard. You can have one side with their address on it and a big heading, and then the other, say, turn over for information. But just to get them to interact with it, to hold it in their hand for 5 to 7 seconds longer than they normally hold it, that's what's key. Okay? What else?
Well, you know what I was gonna ask, sort of related to that, you indicated the postcards, is there anything special about Tuesdays and Wednesdays? Like, do you find you close more deals on Tuesdays and Wednesdays because people are in a different frame of mind? That's the same frame of mind that's also getting them to look at that mail when maybe every other day of the week it's gonna go in the trash.
I find my call uptick is probably a bit higher call uptick on a Tuesday and Wednesday. Because Monday they're dealing with the weekend, they don't wanna do much, or something happened over the weekend and they wanna set it aside. By the time Thursday hits there, they've already checked out.
Okay.
They've mentally checked out. They may be physically there, the lights are on, but nobody's home.
Yeah.
Friday's a dead day.
Sorry?
Friday's a dead day.
Friday's a dead day.
Yeah.
Completely dead.
Yeah.
And the difference is why, and since COVID, hitting on a Monday through Thursday, because more people are working at home, out of home, seems to have a little more even spike, but still Tuesdays and Wednesdays seem to be the big spike days. So I'm just kind of giving you some, what do I do with this stuff and how do I work it? The other thing I do is I pick 2 days a month. I used to pick 1 day a week, but I pick 2 days a month to do my research. And my research is generally on a Monday or a Friday. So this month I've been doing my research on Fridays. Next month I'll do my research on Mondays. And the reason being is I set aside 2 to 4 hours to do my research. And just do it religiously, and then I get my, so if I pull a set of data on, let's say next Monday I pull a set of data, I get it all done. By Friday, I'll have my letters drafted, completed, filled, stamped, the whole thing's on Friday. And I'll get them mailed on Friday night or Saturday morning, because I know they'll be paid Monday through Thursday next week. The other thing that some of this stuff you'll find in this, if you go in there, you'll find company headquarters that are out of the United States. Canada, Japan, England, wherever. Don't even bother mailing. So if they're not within the continental United States, do not contact them. I've spent in 1 year close to $1,000 on mailings and FedEx packages to, and this is in probates for heirs in the states that lived in different countries. 0 return. Not even a call, not even a query.
What about Alaska? Is it continental US?
Well, I've sent it to Alaska, I've sent it to Hawaii.
Okay.
Yeah. But any of the 50 states. I consider Puerto Rico, Guam, and Marshall Islands as foreign countries, even though they're territories. They don't respond. So I'm just kind of giving you the, some of the things that I've learned. All right. We're going to go through this presentation. Is going to be a little short. It'll give you the basics, and we'll try to get live into a system and show you how to work it as we go live. All right. So what are NAICS codes and what are SIC codes? North American Industrial Code or Standard Industrial Classification. Every business in the United States is under an NAICS code or an SIC code. Every business. The business North America includes Canada. That's why I was mentioning about mailing to foreign addresses, because Canada's in there. So most of these codes have been developed by the Census Bureau, the U.S. Census Bureau. The interesting thing about this, I used to work for these guys. So
Isn't that under Department of Labor?
Department of Commerce.
Okay, but I thought the Department of Labor collects all the information. It's Commerce?
No, Department of Commerce.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Under the Census Bureau, you can actually spend years trolling through the Census Bureau's data and information that's available to every person living in the United States who has access to it at no cost. The issue is you could spend 2 years going through it and you only get through maybe 1%. There's so much data that's in there. So the NAICS structure. You have a sector, it's 2 digits. Next you have a subsector, which is 3 digits. So it's 2, 3. Then you have an industrial group, which is 4 digits. An industry code is 5 digits. And a national industry is 6 digits. These digits, as example below, codes 4445 are retail, 441 is motor vehicle parts. So if I go 441, I get to motor vehicle parts and dealers. If I go 4412, it goes to other motor vehicle dealers. If I go to 4122, it's motorcycle, boat, and other motor vehicles. 4122222 is boat dealers. So what the codes do is break an entire industry group down into smaller and smaller groups. Why is that important?
Well, if you're looking for a particular retailer or industry,
Yeah.
you gotta put it in the correct criteria.
You gotta be, exactly, you have to be able to drill down. Because as, I'll show you in an example, I'll show you, I just put in one code, and for North America, it came up at 1,278,000 and change businesses. Nobody's got time to do that. There are services out there that'll do it for you, and you're gonna pay $200 to $400 a month.
I do that for our Rotary Club, because we have a big car show every April. And so, in the fall, I give them every auto-related business in the city of Orange, so that they can contact them and notify them that they would like them to sponsor or provide a raffle prize or participate somehow in our car show.
Right.
And you can do that, as you say, by putting in the right criteria,
Right.
including the city and the county and the state.
And you can really drill down.
Right.
Yeah. So in the code system, once you get the identified businesses or your targets, the information collects a business name, their location, address, management names, officers, directors, owners, phone numbers, sometimes emails, number of employees, annual sales, headquarters and branch offices if they exist, the history of growth or consolidation, and lists can go back to the year 2003. Why is it interesting, or why is it important to understand expansion or consolidation?
You can see if they're profitable, or how profitable
Well,
they're becoming, right?
it's
As they're
profit is number one, but the other thing is that if they are expanding, are they in a growth industry? If they're consolidating, what's happening to the company? Are they in a no-growth industry? Or is the board of directors or owners of the company do not have a succession plan and they don't know what to do with their business? So it could be an opportunity that there's a business that's somewhat viable. Sam has a business that he's listed in Crestline, and I saw it on Crexy on Monday. But that business doesn't have a succession plan.
And you also want to know how many of those businesses are in a particular area because of saturation.
Correct. So it gives you some clues, and you know what I'm showing you this stuff is you have to figure out where you want to go and what you want to do with it and how you want to set up your own plan. All right. So this information retained by commercial providers, which we discussed a little bit. I have an example in the next two slides of what commercial provider and in the public library. The one thing you need with a public library is a library card.
And it works for the Orange County library system and not the city of Orange.
Correct.
Because I've tried to get the same information through the city of Orange and it doesn't work.
Right.
So I have the Orange County library card. And I get in, it used to be Reference USA, but it's now Data Quick, and you said it changed again?
Yeah, it's Data Axle.
Data Axle, okay.
Yeah. But you need a library card.
Right,
And there are libraries that are run by cities, there's libraries that are run by counties. So you have to figure out which library that you're gonna use and what you wanna see.
yeah. The county has a good online presence.
Right.
Yeah.
So this gives you an idea of the 2-digit codes for all the sectors. So we'll go over here. Sector 11 is agriculture, forestry, fishing, hunting. What do I do business in?
Land,
Land. I think that's one of my targets?
yeah.
Yep, absolutely. Another target over here would be, let's go 53. Real estate and rental housing and leasing. Who's under real estate?
Land.
Land. Developers. They're under that category. So when I'm looking for whatever I have, I'm looking in those general areas. Now, if I go down here, there's a section called 92, Public Administration. These are governments. So if you have something that could be appropriate to a government, like you're looking to get surplus land that a government entity is holding, there's a way. Or if you have a city or county that's looking to expand its public facilities, there's the government facilities to reach out and contact. Administrative court and waste management and remediation services. This is interesting. San Bernardino County has declared much of the land that's unused or undeveloped as recycling center as an approved source. So there's where you get an idea in this category 56 is who out there is in the recycling and remediation business who needs land to do recycling. Okay? So I'm saying that you have to figure out whose these codes are, what do they mean, and where are they going? Transportation and warehousing. I have a guy that I spoke to yesterday that's looking for a 14,000 to 34,000 warehouse to move his business into the Riverside County area. Where am I gonna start looking? I'm gonna start looking at transportation and warehousing to find out who's got what. But I'm also gonna be looking at real estate to see who's controlling some real estate in that area. So I have sources I can use and start marketing.
Greg,
Yeah.
transportation and warehousing, who we're gonna find there? The people that own already,
That either have businesses that lease it or people that may own the properties.
And it'll say on there
Warehouse.
that they lease it or they own it.
Well, you'd have to look at whatever the address is of the company and you figure out where their headquarters are. It takes a little detective work to do it.
Or use the title site.
Yeah, but you can use title, you can use, combine it with different tools, like Doug Murphy has Tycor Online. And you can put an address in there and you can determine who the owner of the property is. Is it the same owner of the business, the same owner of the property, and you know they own the property. So this isn't, you're gonna take multiple different tools to put stuff together to target market. That's why I set aside time to first get my list, and then the next time I'm working on it is I narrow my list down, because I wanna go to the people that make decisions. All right, this is NAICS, their homepage. This is an organization. This is a commercial source. A lot of information you can get out of them for free, but when you want a real list in that, they're in the $200 to $400 a pop to do stuff, and it takes them forever to get back to you. So if you've got, you're not in a hurry, and you got more money than Jeff Bezos.
So that's $200 per search?
Yeah, yeah. The other company is NAICS Lists. There's another company that does this. By the way, these guys are pulling the data from the same sources. I'm gonna show you where it comes from.
You can get it for free.
We get it for free, yeah. So let's look at the Orange County library system. I'm using Costa Mesa, Mesa Verde Library, just because I've been there many, many times. But this is orangecounty.gov, and this is their main page of their website. And what happens is up here, these headers along here will help you what's going on. So let's go to the next page real quick. Under library services up here, there's a little button down here that says get a library card. You can get your library card online. I'm sorry? Yeah. You just find your library in Inland Empire. Now, here's the thing. It takes 5 to 10 business days to get your library card if you apply for it online. If you have the time to do it, walk into the library. It takes about 5 to 10 minutes.
Right.
And you can walk in, get the card and move forward with that. But the also that you can do is, funny story is at the Costa Mesa Library in Mesa Verde, I went to the reference desk head librarian, who didn't even know the system existed in their system. And didn't know how to use it.
Reference librarians are much more educated.
Yeah, but she didn't even know this was in their system and how to use it. So I spent an hour and a half at that library with that head library and the reference bar, and she pulled in her other reference librarians, and all 4 of us sat there. I'm behind the counter with the reference and going through stuff and walking with them through it and digging out what I'm looking at. She says, "Is that what you're looking for?" "No, I'm looking for this, I'm looking for that." And they actually, then the one gal says, "I've been here for 10 years and I've never had anybody come here and ask for this information. I didn't even know it existed." So many years ago, I used to go to the library and they came in these large tombs that were about 60 pounds per book. And they'd flip open the book and scroll through the book, and I would pull the book over the photocopier, take a photocopy of the page, and, and do this is way more efficient.
Can you go to any municipal library and do that?
Yeah,
As long as it's part of the Orange County system, like the city of Orange is not part. Certain
Okay.
cities
But all the
chose not to be part of the Orange County system.
yeah, I'm using the Orange County system. But
So
you-
I can go to Orange County system and find out if Yorba Linda, for example, is a member.
Yeah. I forgot what I got on here. All right, all the information's under the digital library and resources. So that's the page or the tab you're gonna look for is digital library and digital resources. So under there, under the digital library and resources, it says I got the right place. And if you notice, it says US businesses. And when I got to that page in the US businesses, this is their portal called Data Axle. And under the US businesses, it lists 103 million businesses, 4.4 million are closed, search or more information. And they break it down to Canadian businesses, and there's all kinds of other stuff that's in there. Have I ever researched closed businesses?
Yes.
Yeah. You know why?
They might have a piece of land or a facility for sale.
Yep, yep. Now, majority of closed businesses, you'll be, if you look at the date of inception to the date of closing, they're less than 2 years old. That tells you how high the failure rate is for small businesses. But still, there's people there, and I've contacted them, and I had one many years ago that I reached out to, and they said, we've refigured everything, we wanna restart. I helped them get an SBA 7A loan to restart a business, because they didn't know where to go. No lender would wanna give them a commercial lender, because they had failed, they closed. But under SBA 7A, they got a second chance to restart their business. Okay, so I'm just kinda giving you, depending on what your focus is, what you're looking for, you can get information and find something.
That was used a lot after COVID.
Pardon me?
That was used
Yeah.
quite a bit after COVID.
Yeah, right.
You
you
can
get
see
people
there's
restarted.
4.4 million closed ones, and there's only 2.5 new ones coming up, 2.1,
Right,
so.
well, that's 2.5 Canadian businesses, 103 million businesses that are in,
Now look at the one just below that,
yeah. New US businesses, 2.1 million.
yeah, versus 4.4
Right.
that bit the dust.
Mm-hmm.
And
So I'll tell you, this 2.1 million, in 2 years, probably a good chunk of them will be closed.
Sure.
used to be that 98% of restaurants failed in the first 2 years.
Yeah, well,
It used to be
now
when
it's
I was part of the
107%. Yeah.
National Restaurant Association, yeah.
Just a comment, some of those business failures are people that just registered a business and never did business. and
Correct.
They don't renew, because I've registered 17 businesses and only operated 4 of them. Just
Yeah.
an example.
Yeah, so I mean, there's lots of reasons. I will tell you, working the failed business list is a lot of brain damage. But, you know, I'm saying, I'm giving you my experiences and what I've done. So, you know, you may have a different experience, but if you know working a failed business is, it's, I had a client yesterday ask me, why do I have so many land listings out in the desert areas and other parts of the county? And I said, okay, I said, I can go out in the desert areas, I can find owners that live in Orange County that own stuff out there. They've done absolutely nothing with the property. Why am I out there? If I'm looking for land in Orange County, I'm one against 2,000 other agents. I go out in the high desert, and I go to different areas where the owners live in Orange County, but the property's someplace else, it's maybe me against 3 other agents. I'm just finding ways to increase my odds to get business in the door. That's all I'm doing. Alright, so once I'm in the system, I'm entering the data axle. Data axle will now require you to enter your username and password. And by the way, your username is your library card number. So when you set up your library card, you'll be able to set up your own password.
Is it a password or a PIN?
It's a PIN number
Yeah.
or password,
Yeah.
either way, whatever you want to set up. And it's under Reference USA, where it is. The next screen is, before you go any further, they've got their rules, conditions, operating stuff. And of course, you have to agree to whatever else is there. So now I'm in. I'm into the NAICS system.
Can you go back to where you log in that data Excel?
But this or one more?
One more. One more.
Data Axle.
Used to be Reference
that
USA.
You can find that from county library or something?
That, okay, we'll go all the way back. That is under digital,
Okay.
okay? You know, when I was in high school, they had classes that taught me how to do this stuff. They don't teach this stuff anymore. All right, so I'm in the system, and what I want to do is I can make some choices here. You read your screens. So my choice right here was, there's a 2-digit NAICS code, 2 to 8 digit. And what I go through in the upper piece up here is I can search by business type, business name, or I can search under codes. So what I've done in this case is I picked farming. So what I did under the farming is I look at what I'm looking for. What kind of farming companies or growers or whatever else I'm looking for. And there's their code name, their code by the type of product they produce. And as I go through, and start collecting, what I end up doing is I hit the button, I select a bunch of codes in there. I hit the button that it says paste codes, and it pastes codes is in this search box. Everything I've selected, it puts them all in the search box for me. So that way I don't have to keep flipping around. I can get a list all at one time. As you notice, there's 205,891 businesses that I've in those codes.
Yeah, but you haven't narrowed it down to a specific geographic area.
Right.
Right.
So the first mistake I see everybody do is, oh, I got 206,000.
Yeah. good
Yeah,
luck.
right. You're gonna download that list and you're gonna commit carry. So this is the first list. And what I've done in this is the 206,000. It gives me the name of the company, who the executive is, their street address, their city, zip code, and if there's a phone number. So what do?
Sort by city or zip.
First of all, I only want businesses with phone numbers. So I redo my search, and I want phone numbers only. Then the next thing I do is
How do you do that?
Sorry?
How do you do,
You
get the
click
phone
on the
numbers
phone.
over?
Yeah. How do you do that?
Get the phone numbers.
Click on phone.
So what I've done in this case is I've researched it again. That box up is for email addresses. This is the first 206. So it gives you a caution and tells you, you can buy the emails if you want to buy the emails. But how do I get that? So what I do, in this case, these are spiritual organizations. I go down and under this box here, or city, state, I can select California. And I put in here, only businesses with valid phone numbers. So there's buttons you can click on that left column or in the center. And then what happens is that, look what happened to the record count. I went from 206,000 down to 7,000. So I've already narrowing my list. And I'm just gonna tell you, don't be afraid to do this. You're not gonna break it. Play with it, work with it. Spend some time learning how to what works for you. I'm gonna make you guys, you keep playing with this, you just play around with it, you're gonna be marketing masters. So now that I've gotten it down to a little lower number, as you see here, I put the business, I put California, I'm still looking at cemeteries, things that, why am I looking at cemeteries and funerals?
Owning business.
Well, people are dying to get into that business.
That's awesome.
But the real reason is, I had a friend of mine buy a wholesale casket business, and now he's got this business, and he's trying to grow his business. He doesn't like a dead-end business, he wants a growth business. So what he's promised me, if I give him the list and do this and help him do it, I get 10% of everything he sells for the next year. Hey, there's money in death and taxes.
And he throws a casket in it besides.
When he can't sell otherwise.
Side note, California requires you to be put in a casket if you're going to be cremated.
Oh.
Really? In a big
Really?
casket?
It could be in a cardboard box.
That's big, and then
Is a casket
oh, that's crazy.
And if you're buried in the ground, you have to have a vault
Yeah.
outside of the casket.
Yep. So California requires anybody being cremated to be put in a casket. It's a special casket for cremation, but you still have,
Cardboard box, basically.
you gotta be put in a box,
Yeah.
yeah.
Forget that.
I
How's
saw
that?
the Big Lebowski, you can use a coffee can.
Greg,
Yes,
I have a question. So if you wanna, buy property and use it for, burial sites, can you do that?
yeah. It has to be approved by the California State Department of Human, Health Services. But the other reason he's looking at that, I helped another individual, that's in our group. They were looking to try to find something, and we found a cemetery and mortuary and funeral home in San Diego that was inherited, and the person who inherited the business doesn't want it, and they got a listing on it to use the system. So, I always think that cemeteries are one of the worst uses of land,
No, absolutely.
but, you know, there's lots of it.
Great golf course land that can become.
Yeah. I wonder if you could put a golf course with a cemetery.
Well, in some cities with, very little land, they actually allow them to bury 4 deep.
Yeah.
So the first one that dies goes down like 24 feet, and then the next one 20 feet, and 16, and, yeah.
Well, then you look at Louisiana and you can't go down, you have to go up.
Right, because of the water table, yeah. I've seen that.
So, alright, so this gives you, these are, different churches and different things that I'm looking for. I have land that could be used for, a religious retreat or some type of a religious rehabilitation, so I'm marketing this land to all these churches. So I'm looking at the different churches that are out there in the different areas they work in, and
Can you zero down, Greg, into a specific city or county?
yeah,
You-
you can get way down there.
You go by zip code, I think.
Yeah, so,
Can you?
yeah, you can get in there. So, again, what I've done is, I'm downloading, I can download this stuff to a, comma delimited in an Excel spreadsheet or tab. So, you can download this into another format
Oh, wow.
and have all that information there. So if you have a mail merge program and you do a CSV download, then you just do the mail merge and match the two, and you can start cranking out all your stuff.
Yeah, I saved mine on an Excel spreadsheet,
Yeah,
or Excel spreadsheets.
so this gives you an idea when you drill down into it, this is the information you get. So in this case, this particular is a nonprofit called the Conservation Fund. They're headquartered in Arlington, Virginia. I have their website. Their phone number was restricted. They have 95 employees, 35 at the main site. They have $221 million in annual revenue.
Wow, that's a lot of money.
Why do you think I'm after them? Hey, for $1.6 million, $1.8 million, I can get you 35 acres of forested land covered in a forest, and the average age of the forest is 138 years old. Is that worth a conservation purchase? Absolutely. So it tells you what they do, it tells you what their NAICS code is and their 6 code is, and look at this. They have 24 locations in the United States. What I did find out, 2 of their locations are in California.
What do they do? Scary, it's a lot of money to be.
Yeah,
For environmental cleanup.
it's not environmental cleanup, they're a
They're just holding the
conservation
land.
fund.
They're holding the land,
They hold the land,
yeah.
yeah.
How do they make $220 million?
Donations,
By owning land?
on only owning land and putting it into a conservation fund.
So they get the donations and they call that revenue?
They call that revenue, Yeah.
Donations are called revenue,
yeah,
And they're nonprofit.
yeah,
and they're nonprofit.
yeah.
So is that, they're averaging $221 million in donations a year, or is that total?
That's per year.
So somebody's giving them over $200 million a year in donations.
So this is the kind of information you get in here, and you can start sorting through this stuff. And you can actually, in the earlier screens, there's a whole set of fields you can put in there and ask them to search for certain things.
So who's getting the $220?
And as a
And
non,
by the way,
Focus on
this
the
is
trees,
non-taxable.
guys.
it's nonprofit.
It's not for profit. It's not, they don't pay any taxes.
Yeah, but they can't just accumulate money forever. The IRS wants to see them disperse some of that money.
They're
Yeah.
Right.
dispersing it by
So
acquiring
they
more
gotta
land.
buy something like your land.
They gotta buy something like that
Blue
land, or
Jay.
they use that money to do improvements, put in trails, to rehabilitate the wildlife, whatever they,
They're,
Restore.
regular Teddy Roosevelts.
yeah, yeah. So I,
John Muir.
and this is public information. That's the cool thing about it. You call them up directly and ask them for their finances, they won't give them to you. You go in here and you go, oh, I know you did $221 million last year, so how much of that do you wanna spend on adding more land to the conservation group? You know, what's your budget? What's your plan?
I think of the Registry of Charitable Trusts, you can go in there and get their financial information.
Yeah.
Not the churches, but nonprofits, you can.
Oh, you get church information.
But the churches don't file, they just file a one-page form that
Well,
doesn't give you their
if
information.
they're under $50,000 a year in income coming in, they file a 990N.
No, they don't
Right.
have to, churches do not have to file 990s.
Nonprofits.
Yeah, nonprofits,
Yeah.
and if they're a religious organization, they have to file, but churches specifically don't
That's
have
what
to
we
I
file.
file
pulled
for
up the Church of God, something or other.
That's what we file for RIP.
Their annual revenue,
Yeah.
1 billion plus.
Oh, my
Wow.
God.
They're into other things then. Yeah.
Okay, so, you know, that's what I'm saying, is you go through this stuff and you figure out who do you really wanna target. Or you pull up another thing, there's another one I pulled up, it was the Heavenly Church of Happiness. Annual revenue, $10. No, I'm not talking to them.
$10.
Them bucks, that's a $10 one.
You can weed out.
Another one of Sam's sales.
Yeah. Alright, so let's see if we can do this real quick.
So if you already have your library card, you can just do it from home.
Yep. So I'm going over here to digital resources. Clicking into there. Books, libraries, go down to business. You have it, and each library has it set up differently. So you have to just play with it and look for it. Surprisingly, for a quasi-government organization, it's logical.
What was that? Say that again?
I said for a quasi-government organization, they're logical.
Oh,
It
okay.
was-
Don't let that get out.
Keeping them in line.
So I'm gonna scroll down a little bit here,
Data axle right there on the top.
right there, data axle, gonna get in here. Log in. Yay, I'm here. Continue.
Reference USA.
Yeah, I'm not gonna use this to do any nefarious things.
We can't be sure with you.
Yeah, I was gonna say, says you.
Well, says me. So I'm gonna go to search. All right, I'm going, not quick search. If you know exactly where you're going, go to quick search, but otherwise, we're gonna go to advanced. Oh, I see my hamster spinning up there. All right, so I'm in here. So the total record count for businesses is 18,293,000. I don't think I want to do those.
That's for the whole United States?
That's the whole North America.
So, yeah, it's Canada too.
No, that's,
No, the United States.
Just the United States.
Yep. So,
doesn't seem like it.
what am I looking for? Verified businesses with phone numbers, yes. Businesses include closed, no. Include unverified, no. So I wanna scroll down a little further.
So it looks like the verified are maybe slightly less than 10% of the total.
Yeah, so this is verified, and this is the account with verified. So there's a lot more in there. I want business phone, number of employees. When I was talking about income, let's say we go with number of employees of 250 to 499. Sales volume, what do you want the sales volume for the company?
100 million.
Okay. Let's go down to 50 to 100 million. Okay, and do we want private, minority owned? See, you can actually veteran owned, minority owned, female owned. You can really target who you're going after, which is kind of cool.
Does it have age of owner by any chance? I don't think so.
No, age is considered a discriminatory item.
What retired business owners? Retiring.
Square footage, professions, all right. So I'm gonna update my count. I just reduced it down to 7,518.
That's where you were before, yeah.
Now, if I wanna go by state, county, I can do that. Where are my locations? Here it is. I can go by zip code, so under geography, you get all that. You wanna search by county?
Yeah.
Okay. By county, you have to select a state. And here's all the counties down here. Let's go orange,
Sure.
and let's update our count. 105. So now we've got 50 to 100 million revenue, we have up to 500 employees, we have 105 industries we can go after. Now, we go over here and go view results. And here's all your companies that meet that criteria with a phone number. And by the way, this little symbol right here means they have multiple branches or there's multiple divisions within that company.
What are the arrows?
Yeah, what does that mean?
I don't remember.
Is it trending as far as?
Oh my God, there's something he doesn't remember?
Yeah.
Maybe it's growing versus.
Oh, okay. The up is going up to the next level in corporate, the down is going to the next level in corporate. So let's just pick, let's go 99 range market.
Yeah, it doesn't know where it's going.
It does. So 99 Ranch Market, anybody know what 99 Ranch Market is?
Yes,
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
we had a meeting there, Riok.
so corporate headquarters,
Good.
Buena Park. It tells you where they operate, Orange, metro areas, LA, Long Beach, what their census tract, their census group, what their main house phone number is. Let's get down a little further in here. Oops. Who's their parent company? Tawa Supermarkets Inc. Yep. This is Japanese owned. Yep. Number of employees, 250 to 500. Corporate employees, 5197. Corporate sales, 396,515,000. The local store is 96 million. That's just the local store.
Yep.
So you can drill through all this stuff and, you know, Adam's gonna contact these guys and tell them that they have a problem with toxic waste. And here, we're here to clean it. You mean Abraham? Abraham, yeah, sorry. I would, but my buddy Mario already calls on them with Service Master. He works with them already.
Well, just show them you're the better server.
But it gives you an idea, a chart of their sales volume by year, their employees by year. It gives you an idea of, and this is that particular store, and it gives them each year starting in 2013 to 2024, what they're doing and what they're not doing. Maybe they need to go find a new location. Maybe their lease is up. Maybe they need some representation, but again, you can get all kinds of information out of here and figure out what you wanna do and where you wanna go with it. I remember asking the title people to search this, and they didn't even know how to search this. And it's not a bash against a title company, it's just what they don't do. They're not good at it. But you can use this information, and you can get the street address here on, what is it, 6281 Regio, and you could put that into the title search and find out who owns the building. You can get that information. But these guys would be an anchor tenant, more than likely. Okay? So you can do whatever different way you wanna search this. If I wanna go back. Looking for it, I don't see it right at the moment.
What are you looking for, Greg?
I'm looking for the input of the NAICS code. Or if I can do here, the bottom line is kind of work with it, play with it, take that out. It's not a hard system to work, it really isn't. It's been around forever. I used that, Greg, like 10 or 15 years ago. I first started using it.
Yeah.
Just prospecting.
Yeah.
You use it for marketing, you use it for prospecting, just for looking for clients. I mean, that's kind of half of what you were explaining.
Yep.
Right? So they're so interconnected.
And the thing is, we all start in this business as real estate professionals, appraisers, names, whatever you are in this field. We always say, well, I did all this last year, what can I do different this year? How can I help grow my business? This is just one tool in your golf bag of 700 clubs. So, take the driver out and play with it, have fun.
That's great.
Is this, could I ask, Doug, is this something the title company can help us with?
Absolutely. What Greg's saying is that the data that the title industry issues, there's two providers of data, CoreLogic and Black Knight Data Solutions. Those are owned by the title industry. They don't provide anything but property information recorded at the county recorder's offices throughout the country. They don't provide email addresses, phone numbers, etc. So,
Does it have the name of the company or entity?
which one?
The title data, the
Right, the data program that I provide complimentary is called Title Pro 24/7. And you can access it from your phone, from your computer, from your laptop. Many of you already have it. Be happy to talk to you individually. All of you have a different one as far as your business platforms, and be happy to talk to you.
But they're all the same, right? It's all the same information?
Well, there's two providers of data, which is CoreLogic, which used to be owned by First American, they sold it off. And then the other one is Black Knight Data Solutions, which is owned by Fidelity National Financial. So all the Fidelity companies, as we learned, Kathy, they all use Title Pro 24/7, they just give them different names. So, I mean, try to, like Greg said, look at the data from a new light. The whole thing is to simplify it for your work. I'd be happy to talk to you individually if you have questions.
With this source here, like if you look up title, what I've seen a lot of times, they'll have a hidden name behind a hidden name on title. This tells you everything.
Right. You're right. Title's gonna show you the entity that owns the property. The true owner, you know, John Jones, the true owner, the entity, the LLC, the corporation. You're right, so you have to be mindful of that when, on any search program.
If any of you use Zoom Info or heard of that, I mean, that's an expensive program. I actually have access to that with my company. It's like this, but it's just on steroids. So this is kind of like, I would almost call it like a free version of Zoom Info, because a lot of the info is not, no pun intended, but a lot of the info is the same. And if you look at like the drop-down search menus on the left, they're very similar. I think you can just you can actually get people's like cell phone numbers, personal home addresses. On Zoom Info, it's crazy, the information you can get, but it's this would almost be like the vanilla or free version of that. So if you're familiar with that, that's not cheap. That's like $5,000 a year per subscription. So, I mean, this is powerful if you can figure out how to use it. It just doesn't give you, right, it just wouldn't give you like your personal number. It give you a lot of other
Your
stuff.
Zoom Info, this is the foundation of it.
That's right. That's exactly right.
That's the foundation of Zoom Info.
Is Zoom Info owned by a Chinese company?
Yes.
I don't know who is on that. That's a good question.
That's why you get all the spam calls.
We're all owned by the Chinese, Lou.
They even tell you what you ate for breakfast yesterday.
You'll get the memo next week. Got lost in the mail because it's international.
All right, guys.
Thanks, Greg, that was a great presentation.
Thank you.
I want to give you another tool to use in your spare time when you don't sleep like me.
Some Sunday during the week.
What's the time between this and SIC then?
The difference between what?
This and SIC?
SIC is in here.
It is in there, okay,
Yeah.
all right.
So standard industrial code, this is North American industrial code system.
Okay.
So,
So they're tied together.
yeah, the SIC codes are smaller, shorter.
Yeah.
They're not as robust as this is more robust.
Gotcha.
Okay?
Gotcha. Thank you.
All right?
Great stuff.
All right, guys.